Is 70 hours too much, or am I crazy? Last week, my managers stated that our pest control tech team is only getting Sundays as their day off. They have us working 10-hour days, that's the minimum, seeing that we can't go home until all of our appointments on our route are finished. While we have a mandatory 30-minute lunch, that's our only break for the day, as they expect us to cram in 11 appointments per day that take roughly 30-40 minutes apiece, but expect us to do that shit in 20 now, so fuck you if you have longer than a 20-minute drive in between. I live an hour away from the office, so that's 12-13 hours of my day, and by the time I get home, I have 4 hours to myself at best before I need to go to bed. There's not so much as a complaint, let alone an uproar, from the other techs. Am I just weak? 70 hours a week is too many. Is it feasible to start looking for another job? Your co-workers have come to see their chains as normal and expected. 40 hours is too much. I'm gonna guess they also don't pay overtime. Any minute over 40 is too much. I'm in Europe. 38 hours a week is normal, 48 is the max. You can opt out of the 48 hours a week max, but you can't be compelled to, and you can opt back in at any time with sufficient notice. So the person who came out with this command is going to be working the same hours? I don't think so. It asked for the person who came up with this to do the job competently for a month under their rules and then see if it really is all rainbows and unicorns. I bet they won't do. They can't expect you to. Dude, you're being trafficked. After 8 hours in a day or 40 in a week, you should be paid time and a half or double time. If you continue to work for a company that doesn't do this, you're helping them screw you. If the company is working these hours as a matter of policy instead of hiring more people to share the work, then just fucking run. Where I work a full week is 35.5 hours. Anything above is considered overtime if it isn't in your rotation. I have a couple weeks with 50 hours as my rotation where I don't get overtime. Only if I step in if someone is sick for the day. Not bad for short time or once in a while, but tough way to live. Have to think of your diet, your sleep and the other people in your life. It's not sustainable for long term. I'd make adjustments or find something better fit for you. Corporate America cares about profit only. You need to be your own advocate. You're crazy if you think anything over 40 is reasonable. I know some jobs have it, but by no means should it be considered a standard. I once worked a 54-hour week and almost lost the will to live. This isn't healthy. The only way I'm doing this is if I'm paying off something that is strangling our finances, car payment, etc. If you're not struggling, no way. It's illegal in quite a few countries. That should tell you all you need to know. 70 hours is a lot, but don't discount the fact that you're working under pressure that entire time, essentially double speed non-stop. Some work long hours, but there's waiting involved and work is relatively low stress with them essentially needing to be available when things come up. Sounds like something has to give. It would be a good idea to listen to your gut and make a change if at all possible. Not at all is it fox, orkin or cat's eye. Fox was like this to me. I pushed 160 productivity over the next guy below me. 3 months in I asked for a $3 raise and they told me to fuck off and gave me a route 80 miles from the shop, 70 miles from home, 12 stops just like yours, 20 minutes apart. Are you making like 500k? 99.9. Yeah, 70 hours is too much. Even if you're making a lot of money, it won't do you any good if you die at 50 from a heart attack. Union member here. My company would like us to work tons of hours too. However, we are paid for anything outside normal business hours. 0700-1530, paid travel time. I take my company vehicle home, not on Saturday, DT on Sunday. Then if someone has a life, they do say no without retaliation. Same company for our Oregon branch, non-union. It's straight time all the time and $22 hour less. Point is, unions can be good for workers. Sounds like some Texas shit. My old dealership I worked at wanted us to work 10-11-hour days, no mandatory lunch. If we didn't take one we didn't get one, in a shop with no climate control. That was 5 days a week and then every third Saturday, so then 6 days a week. 50 hours weeks. I wanted to kilometers. I couldn't imagine doing 70 or more. No overtime either. I did that for about 2 years and then finally had enough, quit automotive altogether and never looked back. Hopefully you can get out of that job because it's only gonna get worse. I also work 55-65 hours a week doing pest control. I run probably 15-25 stops a day. But I love the work. My company is pretty solid, we get decent benefits, weekends off, a percentage of the revenue we generate the company every month, a truck we can take home, so gas isn't in the equation as far as the commute goes. Sometimes I volunteer to work Saturdays, but they're never mandatory, for the most part. I understand your grind, man, but that's just the industry. It is illegal in some countries. I hope they pay you a boatload in overtime, at least. Even with that it's not worth, but it might be palpable. There is a reason the work week is 40 hours. Shouldn't even be that in my opinion, but that job is bullshit. You should never have to work that much for a living wage. 70 hours is really only normal for truck driving, and even then, it feels like too much. 70 hours is so much time spent working per week that, depending on the type of work, labor, and depending on your age, you will not be able to adequately recover physically and neurologically in terms of systemic fatigue. It's the problem bodybuilders have. The harder they train, the longer it takes to recover, the higher their systemic fatigue goes, until eventually they have to take a month off or their lifts start going down. We need unions again. In France it's 35 hours per week and it's already too much. We want to go for 32 hours. 70 hours, it's slavery. So, are you actively looking for a better job? If not, no sympathy, man. You're in a bad situation with this company. If you're doing nothing to change it, it's on you. If you're looking for a better job, keep at it. Companies these days are delusional in the respect of what they are requiring from candidates nowadays. That is effing crazy. That is 1.75x normal working hours. Not crawling under houses for that amount of time, especially in what might be considered contaminated soil by chlorine and so on. You are being unfairly taken advantage of for profit by others. You need to set your own limits. This job is not worth health problems like cancer. They hope you are poorly educated and do not understand the risks they are putting you through. Yes, that's crazy, bro. Man, I think 40 is too much, 70 is hell. I couldn't survive like that. Pretty much sums up most jobs. They advertise the pay is great but don't tell you you need to work 70 hours to get the great pay. Reminds me of how they tied elephants up from the time they were young to a little stake in the ground. Their chains were all they knew, so they never pulled against them. Your employer is acting outside of the means of labor laws. If you're 1099, give them the finger and tell them I'm only working 40 hours a week. And there's nothing you can do to stop me. Yo, my dude, you ever hear of these things called bootstraps? I would regularly work 96-hour weeks while I was on call bi-weekly for 5-ish years. It was exhausting but helped with getting a lot of money in a short amount of time. Also, it wasn't like just straight 14-hour shifts. I'd get called out for 3-5 hours, go home and repeat. I still had to work my regular scheduled shifts as well. If you're in a position to, just say no. Work 40 then go home. Keep showing up though. Make them fire you and make them put it in writing. Until then, just say no. That's it. You don't have to explain yourself, you don't have to make excuses. Just tell them you're working your 40 and out. Just say no. 70 hours is not sustainable. Anything over 60 is exploitative, unless you work in a very high-paying job or are self-employed. Please tell me they pay you at least time plus .5.